Hello there, Mad Mike here, and welcome back to the channel. And today we are going to examine some interesting news coming out of the financial side of Hollywood, and that is that MGM may be going up for sale soon. And by that I mean MGM Studios, who most people would probably know as the studios who have produced such classics as Gone with the Wind, Ben-Hur, and the entirety of James Bond, or at least most of James Bond. I think there might be a couple that weren't done by them, but they do own the rights to all of those films. Um, so MGM has recently reached out to a couple of investment banking organizations in regards to selling their assets, which I think is probably due to the ongoing coronavirus pandemic. They're probably hemorrhaging money and they probably can't survive, unlike larger studios. I can't remember if MGM is also based primarily in England, which it might be. I can't remember. I know they do have branches over there, but I can't remember if it's if it's technically an American company. I believe it is. Um, but the bigger question here is what happens if MGM goes on sale? Now, the big hook is going to be James Bond. But here's your problem with the James Bond conundrum is that James Bond is actually owned by two different production studios. It is co-owned through MGM, but it is also owned by a secondary studio called Danjak. I don't know exactly how to pronounce that 100% correctly. And they also hold control over future Bond films. So if you did buy out MGM and you wanted to use James Bond, you would probably have to go through this other studio in order to continue to make James Bond properties and films. Um, so you have that kind of a wrinkle with it. In addition to the fact that I think a lot of the rights for MGM produced films are kind of all over the place. Because I know that Gone with the Wind either was, I know it was on HBO Max. I don't know if it still is, but that was a film that they did, which apparently Warner somehow got the rights to stream. Either they bought it from MGM or something like that. But I think the two big contenders that are going to go out for this are going to be Disney and MGM and possibly Netflix. I could see maybe Netflix doing something like that just to acquire the catalog. But I think Netflix is on like the lower end of that. Maybe Amazon actually. Amazon would probably have enough right now because of their stock value skyrocketing to probably purchase MGM a couple times over. But I think it'll most likely get purchased by another production studio. It's probably either going to get purchased by Disney or Warner Brothers, and I think that's mainly because they want to be able to put all that content on their streaming services, Disney Plus and HBO Max, respectively. Um, and that's the thing is that this is going to be a big draw for people. If you can go to one of the streaming services, especially for somebody who's a big James Bond fan, which I'm not a huge James Bond fan. I am a fan of the films, especially the older ones. I do like the Craig ones, but if you're a huge James Bond fan and they're streaming all of the James Bond movies are available on HBO Max or on Disney Plus, that person is probably going to subscribe to that service so that they can have all those on their at their fingertips. Even though they probably also had the DVDs of them, which I know is kind of counterproductive, but that's really what they're doing because a lot of these streaming services are pumping fucking content into them. You saw all the stuff that Disney is announcing. Half of that stuff is going straight to Disney Plus, for the sole reason that they need to pump up that streaming service. Even though it already has, I think, 72 million subscribers or something. They have a ridiculous amount of subscribers right now. They're not up there with Netflix yet, but they're getting there. HBO Max is doing the same thing, where Warner had their earth-shattering announcement a couple weeks ago that they were going to be sending all of their major film releases next year to Disney Plus, or not Disney Plus, to HBO Max, same day as theaters. So obviously these companies are putting their streaming first and foremost on their list. So I would not be surprised if Disney went in for a bidding war on this. I would not be surprised if that bidding war is between them and Warner Brothers. I could see maybe Comcast, who was involved in the original Fox buyout, might try to get in on this as well. I'm sure they got a bunch of money laying around. That they did not use on that deal unless they've bought something else in the recent future. I haven't really kept up too much with that. Or you can maybe see a streaming service like Netflix or Amazon come in. I think Amazon's far more likely in that scenario. But like I said, even if you go through that, you're going to have to try and work with this other studio that also co-owns the right to James Bond. I think Disney also has some kind of a weird hand in that too somehow. I don't know exactly what that has to do with. Maybe they own a little bit. Maybe they own the rights to the Bond character or something, or some rights to it. But like I said, even if you buy MGM, you're going to have to either buy out this other studio to get the James Bond movie, or buy the rights back from the studio in order to get the next James Bond film made solely under Disney's banner. Which that's the other thing is, Disney is not, and Warner Brothers too, actually, kind of are not necessarily keen on cutting profits in terms of they'll co-produce with other studios. Warner Brothers has been doing it for a long time. That's why they're running into an issue right now with Legendary Pictures, because they co-produced Godzilla vs Kong, and Dune with that studio, and those both are going direct to HBO Max next year. Like I said, I did a video on that before. You can look at that if you want more details on it. But looking through what we have now, there's a couple different possibilities of the way this can go, but I have a funny feeling it's probably either going to wind up going to Disney or Warner Brothers. I think maybe Warner Brothers is willing to shell out a bit more for this because Disney is doing relatively okay in their streaming. I shouldn't say relatively okay. They're doing very good in their streaming numbers in terms of their the numbers for Disney Plus subscribers are going up again with The Mandalorian season 2 happening. I'm assuming there's going to be a very stiff drop off after December, similar to last year when the first season of The Mandalorian ended and a lot of people canceled their accounts. So Disney's probably going to look for something that they can use on there to supplement that. And in addition to that, we're also kind of still waiting for some of those MCU shows to come out on there. WandaVision is set to premiere on there, Falcon Winter Soldier, and a whole slew of other shit. But as of right now, if they were to actually, well, I shouldn't say as of right now, because if this deal actually did go through with MGM, would probably be entangled for a while. I don't think it'll be as significant as the Fox buyout, but it would probably be if they did something where they actually bought MGM Studios. I have a funny feeling it would probably be a bit more of a fluid action as opposed to an actual buyout. But this is kind of big news again. This is actually very similar to similar in a sense, I guess, to when Disney bought out Fox and got all the stuff from them. Because there's the other problem too, is that Disney, I don't know if they're going to be able to actually be allowed to buy MGM, because they barely got away with getting Fox. They escaped with the skin of their teeth getting Fox. So if they were to actually buy up MGM, they might actually be, in the legal sense, they might be in the realm of a monopoly, even if they are, in all respects, they're in a monopoly already to an extent. Even though there is still some competition, they are the biggest game in town. But if you buy up MGM, I think it's just gotten to the point where it's ridiculous and legally you can't really ignore it anymore. Whereas Warner Brothers, I think you could probably get away with that, even though they had the AT&T merger, which I believe happened a couple of years ago, a little bit before the Disney one. So I think Warner is probably your best bet if it's not going to be a company like Amazon or Netflix. But again, that's just me. But I want to know what you think about this. Would you be interested to see where MGM's catalog actually goes? Do you think that it's a good idea for MGM to sell right now? Do you think that they should try any other kinds of outlets before they actually go through with this? And where do you think James Bond will wind up, and where do you think the next James Bond movie will be coming from? What production studio? As usual, I'd like to know your thoughts, so put them in the comments below. Hit the bell for notifications, hit the like button, subscribe, and remember, I live my life free of compromise. Do you?